The opening scene shows a man, Peter, who is in conflict with the police. While driving in a car, he is asked by a police officer about the medal they handed him. Peter replies that he doesn't have the medal. This sets the stage for the introduction of the hero. The hero is shown in a relaxed setting, where he is drinking, smoking, and watching the news on TV. The news reports a double murder at a house, and as the report airs, the hero receives a call from a senior officer in the police department, who asks for his help. In the next scene, the hero is shown at a house. A police team is present, and inside the house, the senior officer continues speaking with the hero. The senior officer explains that the double murder happened the previous night, and there is a dead body inside. He urges the hero to go and check it out. The hero, now retired, decides to help the police out of a sense of duty. As he enters the house, he first notices a light bulb being held up in a particular way. The police officers suggest that the killer might have tampered with the bulb, indicating a clue. The hero inspects the bulb and its holder carefully. Inside the house, the hero finds a locked door, which leads to the next part of the investigation. He picks up a paper and notices a possible clue related to the lock. Upon checking the door, he opens it to find the first dead body in the hall. The body is lying near a door, and the hero investigates further. The scene shifts to another room, where a second dead body is found. In the kitchen, the hero discovers a pot of milk on the stove, with beer cans nearby, suggesting a connection. As the hero goes outside, he meets the senior officer, who speculates that the killer is likely a young, fit person. The hero agrees, suggesting that the killer is someone they should have known about, someone who might have been seen in the area before. The senior officer discusses the investigation further, and the hero shares that it appears the killer might have been involved with the victims. The hero also mentions that it's possible the killer was known to some of the people involved, as the police would have already been familiar with him. The senior officer then instructs his team to handle the formalities of the investigation, and the hero steps out. He pauses to reflect on the situation and shares some thoughts with the team about how the victim's family might be connected to the case. In the last part of the scene, the hero reveals that the house belonged to a couple who were older, with children who had been living with them. Despite their age, the couple had been in a happy marriage, but there had been tension recently, which could be important to the investigation. As the investigation unfolded, the hero discovered that the lady of the house had been engrossed in a serial the previous night. Her husband revealed this, and the hero handed him a paper with everyone's phone numbers scribbled on it. Find out which tower these numbers were connected to last night, the hero instructed. The husband was perplexed but complied, handing the paper over to an officer. Meanwhile, the hero requested the glass the husband had been drinking from, revealing that the fingerprint on it would aid in identifying the killer. The hero's meticulous examination led him to compare the fingerprint on the glass with the one on the bulb holder, and to his astonishment, they matched. Further scrutiny revealed that the killer had employed the same knife used in the murder to slice a calendar paper found near the crime scene. The events began to unravel. The killer had entered through the already open front door, exploiting the victim's distraction. Inside, the killer had coffee with the victim, leaving behind a single coffee cup. Despite the killer's attempts to wipe clean all evidence, the cyber department successfully traced their number, and the accumulated proof, fingerprints, knife, and calendar paper, sealed the case. The senior officer was stunned by the hero's exceptional detective work. "You're a genius," he exclaimed. The hero's response was humble, "It's just my skill." With the case now solved, the hero's remarkable abilities were undeniable. His keen eye for detail and analytical mind had unraveled the intricate threads of the crime, bringing justice within reach. The story begins with a flashback showing the hero's past. During the day, the hero appears happy with his friends, but at night he feels sorrow, thinking about his ex-wife, Stella, and also about his current wife. One day, one of the hero's friends comes to him with shocking news: Stella has met with an accident. The hero immediately rushes to the hospital, where he finds Stella's second husband, Peter. The hero inquires about what happened, and the doctor tells him that Stella is out of the danger zone for now but requires a major surgery to survive. The hero, slightly relieved, recalls his recent days of happiness with his wife. In a flashback, we see scenes where the hero took care of Stella lovingly, especially after the birth of their child. This flashback ends when the doctor informs him that the surgery has failed, and Stella won't survive. Both Peter and the hero agree to donate her organs. As the hero is emotionally shaken, his friends notice his grief and ask him why he divorced Stella in the first place. The hero reveals another flashback to explain. The hero explains that, after finishing his studies, he was waiting to join police training and was in love with a girl from his hometown. However, her father didn't approve of him, seeing him as a failure without a job. Her father arranged her marriage to another man. Heartbroken, the hero joined police training and eventually married Stella, leading a happy life. One day, the hero and his team were called to investigate a case involving a deceased woman found in a house. To his shock, he finds that the body is that of the girl he once loved. She had been dead for a few days, and her body was starting to decay. Seeing her in this state deeply disturbed him, and he couldn't continue his duties for a while. That night, Stella tries to comfort him, but he remains haunted by the memory of his lost love. He decides not to tell Stella about this, fearing it would create distance between them. However, Stella sensed that something was wrong and, suspecting an affair, eventually left him. After Stella left, he lived alone, grieving his lost love. 4 years ago, that girl died in an accident, leaving him with no one but his memories. Now, with Stella gone, he is alone again. One day, while driving with his friend, they pass by the place where Stella had her accident. His friend receives an urgent call, so they pull over, and the hero spots Stella's scooter outside the police station. He goes inside and finds the station inspector with Stella's accident report. Taking a copy of the report, he decides to revisit the site of using the details from the police report. The hero examines the exact location where Stella's bike had been found after the accident. He notices a few rocks in the area, which seem to be the reason she had sustained a head injury. While the hero is surveying the scene, a man from a nearby tea shop approaches him. The hero asks him about Stella's position when she fell, and the man recalls how she was lying. The hero then requests the accident photos from the officer at the station. When he receives and examines them, he realizes that Stella's death might not have been caused by an accident, but could have been a murder. A flashback shows the actual accident. Stella's scooter was near the tea shop when a jeep came from behind and hit her scooter, knocking her down. After the sound of the impact, the tea shop owner looked out to see what had happened. While he was thinking about what to do, a black car pulled up, and the people inside offered to help, lifting Stella into the car. The flashback ends there. The hero questions the tea shop owner further, who mentions that there were 2 people in the jeep, and he remembers seeing the face of the man sitting next to the driver. The tea shop owner mentions that only the man sitting in the passenger seat turned around after the accident, but he didn't recognize the people in the black car who took Stella away. He also adds that the lady in the car placed Stella on her lap and made a phone call. The hero asks him to check the car number that took Stella to the hospital, suspecting it might be a fake number. The officer at the station says it looks like a truck number, so the hero tells him to initiate a mobile dump search and take an artist with him for a sketch of the passenger who turned around. The hero's friends are confused, so he explains his thoughts. He believes the people in the jeep purposely hit Stella's scooter but didn't intend to kill her. If they wanted to kill her, they would have hit her harder to ensure death. By making it look like an accident near a tea shop, they knew that the police would consider it an accident and close the case quickly. The hero then observes Stella's bike in the photos and notices it's in a normal driving position on the road. He deduces that when the accident happened, Stella fell on the road with her left hand hitting first, which is why it fractured. Then she must have rolled and hit her head on the rocks, which caused her head injury. The force of her first impact should have been on her hand, not her head, meaning that something else caused the head injury after the fact. However, according to the post-mortem report, her cause of death was severe trauma to the back of her head, which doesn't align with a normal accident. Usually, after an accident, it's the driver who would look back. The fact that only the passenger did suggests they intended to ensure the accident happened exactly as planned. Stella didn't die in the accident, but rather something happened to her after the people in the black car took her away. The hero suspects this because of the tea shop owner's observation that the car passengers looked quite well dressed. If they really wanted to help, they would have stayed at the hospital, waited for her relatives, and provided their contact details. Yet, they left a fake number instead. The hero becomes convinced that Stella was murdered and decides to visit Peter's house to investigate further. In the next scene, the hero arrives at Peter's house and looks through Stella's room and mobile phone. In her bag, he finds typical items, some medication, and an old passport-sized photo of himself. He doesn't find anything suspicious on her phone either, so he leaves the place with his friends. Peter asks the hero if there's any problem, but the hero doesn't answer and leaves. The hero then suggests they should check on the recipients of Stella's donated organs to see who they are. Meanwhile, at the accident site, police officers are present. An artist has made a sketch based on the tea shop owner's description, and another officer is performing a mobile dump analysis. The process involves tracing calls from a specific tower near the accident site. They retrieve records from each network provider to get a list of all calls made via that tower at the time of the accident. This helps identify callers in the area, especially for incidents outside the city, where it's easier to filter out potential suspects. The artist finishes the sketch just as the hero arrives. He asks about the car that took Stella to the hospital, and the tea shop owner confirms it was a black Ford Icon. The officer notes that since the car's number was fake, tracing it will be difficult, but the hero has a plan. He contacts a car thief and instructs him to find out if anyone has stolen or scrapped a similar model. That night, the hero discusses the organ donation recipients with his friends. He says Stella's organs went to 4 young recipients, none of whom are linked to her murder. Then, the officer working on the mobile dump confirms they've identified the number used by the people who took Stella in the car. A call from this number was made to another state, lasting only 30 seconds, and afterward, the phone was switched off. The only calls made from this number were at the time of the accident, with no other records. They also trace the IMEI number of the phone used, showing that multiple SIM cards have been used in that same device. Each time, the SIM was only used twice, and then the phone was kept off, showing a pattern of switching SIM cards frequently without ever reusing them. As they're discussing, Peter arrives and hands the hero Stella's old chain and ring. Peter explains that he received a call from the station about the accident. Since they couldn't trace the car involved, they asked if he'd agree to close the case with another car shown as the culprit so they could claim insurance. Peter says this is why he came to talk to the hero, adding that the hero had already mentioned police might close the case like this. This was why Stella's death had been framed as an accident rather than a murder. The scene cuts to the hero reading about Stella's accident in the newspaper. He finds another newspaper with the news of his wife's death years ago, noting down the names of people who received her donated organs. Among them is a woman named Renuka, who had received his wife's heart. Renuka's mother had said that despite the heart transplant, she was still under medical care. The hero gives her some money, tells her to contact the doctor he recommends, and assures her it's free before leaving. A few days pass, and the memorial service for Stella takes place. Peter, the hero, and his friends all gather to pray for her. Suddenly, the hero receives a call. His friends notice his sorrowful expression and ask what happened. The hero tells them Renuka has passed away. One of his friends suggests they go to her house to pay respects, but the hero declines, saying he has something urgent to take care of and asks them to finish the prayers on his behalf. The hero returns home instead of going to see Renuka. He takes out a blade, makes a cut on his hand, and slumps into a chair. After a while, his friends arrive and, shocked by the sight, immediately take him to the hospital, saving his life. The church father scolds the hero after he recovers, telling him to come to church daily from now on. Peter and his friends, who've been caring for him, are relieved to see him alive, and he's grateful as they bring him home from the hospital. Now, as if he's had an awakening after this near-death experience, he calmly declines drinks and sits in front of a religious photo in deep thought, as if enlightenment has dawned upon him. The hero starts lighting lamps, going to church, and has begun a morning routine of exercising. One day, the person who did the mobile dumping calls the hero and tells him that the woman who took Stella has turned her mobile on again with a new SIM card. The hero tells him to locate where the call was made from. In the next scene, we see a car shed. The hero had previously informed them about the Ford car that had been stolen. He's come to check it out and notices it looks like the car used to take Stella. However, the license plate number doesn't match what the tea shop owner remembered. To confirm, the hero runs a test by wiping a tissue soaked with a chemical benzidine on the seat. The tissue turns blue, indicating the presence of blood stains. This confirms it's the same car. The hero then asks the shed owner who brought this car to the shed. The owner says he doesn't know their details, but he does recognize the driver's sketch, confirming that the hero's suspicions are almost correct. The shed owner shows the hero a letter given by the person who brought the car in, requesting it be scrapped. The hero takes down the address from the letter and goes to the car owner's house. When he meets the car's original owner, the man explains that due to extensive damage, he sold the car to someone who came with paperwork for scrapping it. The hero realizes that whoever killed Stella planned things very precisely, covering their tracks at every step. The hero calls the mobile dumper again and instructs him to trace all calls made to the car owner's house from the time the killer group obtained the car. The mobile dumper agrees. In the next scene, the hero calls his friends to meet him at a place. When he arrives, he tells them that they traced a call made to the car owner's house from the killer group. The car was indeed taken by them. The hero explains that every time the killer group uses a new SIM card, an accident seems to follow shortly after. They used a new SIM card yesterday, so there's likely to be an accident today. He tells his friends they should report the address to the SP and have the group arrested. However, his friends advise that without solid evidence, it's impossible to take action. At that moment, the hero receives a call from the car thief, who went to the address they traced. The thief tells the hero that a black ambassador car was recently brought to the location. The hero tells his friends to wait there while he goes home to prepare a gun. As he's doing this, the mobile dumper comes to the hero's house, hands him 2 files, one for the lawyer and one for the SP, and instructs him to give them to both at 9 a.m. the following day. The hero's plan becomes clearer. He goes to the killer group's black ambassador car at night and installs a hidden camera in it. He believes that Stella didn't die from the accident but was killed by the people in the car, and he's hoping the camera will capture evidence of this. After setting up the camera, he steps outside. He loads the gun, hands it to his friend, and tells everyone to stay in the same place for the night. He then heads home. Next day, dawn breaks, and as soon as the hero wakes up, he calls his friend to ask what happened. His friend says the killers haven't left the spot yet. The hero says he'll go to church and then head to the location. When he leaves the house, he notices a pair of muddy shoes near the gate, implying that someone had been watching him from the bushes when he locked his door. The hero rides off on his scooter, and soon after, the killer group drives away in their car. The hero's friend tries calling him, but since the hero is at church, he doesn't answer. The friends decide to follow the killer group themselves, but after a short drive, their car's tire gets punctured. Meanwhile, the hero is on his scooter and spots the same Jeep used in Stella's accident on a nearby road. This time, the Jeep is following him. He sees it in his side mirror but doesn't react, continuing to ride. After a while, the Jeep crashes into the hero's scooter, throwing him onto the ground. As the Jeep driver looks back at him, the hero realizes this was the same person from before. The Jeep drives off, only for the killer group's black ambassador car to arrive on the scene. Passers-by rush to help the hero, loading him into the car and taking him to the same hospital where Stella had been taken. The hero is placed on a stretcher and taken to the operating room. The scene then cuts to a courtroom. A lawyer hands the judge a diary, which contains a detailed account of the hero's investigation into Stella's case from the very beginning. The judge starts reading it, and we're taken through what the hero's original plan was, what he discovered, and what exactly happened in the car. The hero had first suspected that Stella's accident was actually a carefully planned murder. In the same hospital where Stella was taken, his own fiancée had previously passed away under suspicious circumstances. She, 2, was declared brain dead, and doctors had requested permission to donate her organs. The similarities raised doubts in the hero's mind about his fiancée's death, leading him to visit all the people who had received her organs. When he checked on Renuka, one of the recipients, his friend discovered that Renuka's heart transplant had failed, and her heart condition still persisted. This led the hero to question who had actually received his fiancée's heart. To find out, the hero asked the mobile dumper to hack into the hospital's network. They discovered that a foreign woman had been admitted to the same hospital around the time Renuka was, though hospital records labeled it as a routine procedure. However, upon inspecting her medical prescriptions, it became clear that she had received the same medications used in Renuka's heart transplant, suggesting that the heart had, in fact, been given to this foreign patient instead. It turned out that the hospital had faked Renuka's transplant to secretly provide the hero's fiancée's heart to the foreign patient. This deception was done under the guise of a priority transplant list called Marithasanjeevani, maintained by hospitals in Kerala, where organs are supposed to be allocated based on urgency and seniority. When the hero's fiancée passed away, Renuka should have been next in line for a heart transplant, but the hospital staff manipulated the system to transplant the heart to someone else entirely, violating the list. Despite everything, the hero doesn't have enough concrete evidence against the killer group or the hospital. So, he devises a plan involving the Marithasanjeevani organ donation list. He notices a patient on the list who, like him, has an AB blood type and needs a heart transplant. Instead of catching the killers immediately, the hero decides to use the hospital staff's corruption to expose them in the open. To make the hospital aware of his AB blood type, the hero makes another suicide attempt. During his treatment, the hospital performs a full medical checkup on him, and he keeps his routine consistent, drinking, going to church, etc., making it seem like he's oblivious to the killer group's movements. When the killer group activates a new SIM card, he's alerted and senses they are ready to eliminate him. That's when he hands over his diary and the details of his plan to the mobile dumper and asks him to give it to the lawyer at 9 a.m. the next day. As part of the plan, the mobile dumper sets up 2 cameras, one on the killer group's car and one on the hero's scooter. When asked why he's setting up a camera on the scooter, the hero just responds with a smile, giving no further explanation. He also ensures his friends won't get involved by secretly puncturing their car's tire, preventing them from following the killers. The hero realizes from the footprints outside his house that the killers have been watching him, so he's prepared when the killer's jeep crashes into his scooter. But unknown to the killers, his scooter has a hidden camera capturing the entire incident. The woman in the killer group smashes the back of the hero's head with a rock, badly injuring him but not killing him instantly. At 9 a.m., the mobile dumper hands over the letter to the SP, Superintendent of Police, as instructed by the hero. However, by this time, the operation on the hero has already begun. In the letter, the hero had written that his heart would not go where it was supposed to, instead, it would be given to a foreigner. He requested the SP to investigate by taking medical tests to confirm this and then file a case against the hospital. Following the hero's instructions, the SP begins an investigation, which confirms that the hospital indeed violated regulations. This shocks the reader, confirming that the hero has passed away, but his investigation has succeeded. Due to his case, new rules mandate that all organ transplants be accompanied by video recordings, DNA tests, and other verification to ensure transparency. Regulations become stricter, requiring organs to be given strictly based on priority in the Marithasanjeevani list. The hospital doctors who illegally sold organs to foreigners are arrested, and so is the killer group. In the final scene, the hero's wife and daughter are buried in the cemetery, where Peter and the hero's friends pay their respects. The story ends with Peter, the hero's close friend, receiving a medal in his honor. And that's the story's conclusion. Complete justice is finally served.